everybody. Welcome to Locker Room. This is Southland's podcast for men, where we redeem men's conversations, talk about the right things in the right ways. My name is Scott Hatfield, and just really glad that you're checking out the podcast. We're dumping a preview episode in today because I want to let you know what's coming up this fall as we begin to transition from the summer and click back into a gear. And I wanted you to know a couple new things that are coming out that you're going to need to check out, or you're going to want to get the word out, along with some projects that I've been working on. And also at the end of this, we'll talk about the podcast when we're going to kick back off Locker Room this next season. Really excited about it. I hope you had a great summer, and I hope you've gotten some downtime. I hope you were able to downshift, get on vacation, get in the sun, go hiking, put your feet in the sand, knock out some projects around the house, or get an opportunity to get in the pool or somebody's pool or a lake. We were able to do that a couple of times this summer. My wife and family, we went to Norris Lake with my wife's family. We kind of do a trip there every year. It rained every day except for the first day or the last day, which was awesome. But we did have a good time. It was cool. And then I just got back. My family just got back. We went on vacation to Florida, Panama City Beach, and we went with some friends of ours, Bart and Jody Stone. They've been friends of ours for over 20 years. And Bart and Jody Stone are church planters in Atlanta, Georgia, right outside there, at a church called Momentum Christian Church, and just doing a phenomenal job. But they've been great friends. Their kids are our kids' age. We had a blast. We played in the sand. We had a great time, laughed so much that tears were running down our face. And we had this ball that we would bring into the ocean. It was like a wave runner ball where you could throw it and that thing would skip. We threw that thing so much that I thought I was going to have to have Tommy John surgery afterwards. I mean, our arms would be so sore every day, but we had a blast. It's a blessing to get to connect with some friends like that on vacation. I've tried to keep my face in the Bible. This summer I've read 1st and 2nd Timothy, Paul's letters to Timothy, and then I just finished 1 Corinthians, and that's been good for my soul to just try to strive daily to connect with Jesus, to be reminded of his truth and the power of his grace in my life. And then I've been rereading this book called Wild at Heart. It's a John Eldredge book, and one of my favorite books for men. I probably reread this book probably 5 times. It's a book that speaks so strongly to the heart of men. And if you've never read this book, I would encourage you to check it out. And then on top of that, just as I'm reviewing this summer for me, there's a couple worship songs that, it's cool how God just continues to bring new songs into the Christian culture. And there's a couple songs that grabbed a hold of me this summer that have continued to resound in my heart and remind me of who God is and what Jesus has done and what he wants to do in people. And we actually did both of those songs this past weekend in our service, which was really, really cool. And the first song is the song Bigger. And this is a Southland original. It's one that our Southland music team wrote together, and huge shout out to them for this song. This song is really impactful, and it's cool to kind of hear it resound with our people. This song declares who Jesus is and what he's done. And the chorus is so cool. It just says, "You're bigger than today, bigger than tomorrow, bigger than my past, bigger than my sorrow, bigger than my doubt, bigger than my questions. Your faithfulness and love will always be enough." And I love the bridge. It says, "There's no mountain that you can't move again." It's not just about him moving mountains. He's saying he can do it again. There's no mountain that you can't move again. There's no hurt that you can't heal again. There's no raging storm that you can't calm again. There's no end to what you're bigger than. It just puts this big spotlight on who God is and what he's done, and reminds us that he's bigger than anything that comes our way. It's a powerful song that when we allow it to ring in our hearts and our minds, it transforms us and fills us with truth and hope and just the reminder of God's promises. And I'd love for you to check that out. It's on Spotify or Apple Music. You can YouTube it. Give this song a listen and allow it to minister to your heart as well. It may be a song that you need to share with someone who's going through something, a hard time or whatever. We said this before, worship is a shield for our faith. And then the second song is a song called Firm Foundations, and it says, and it also, He Won't. And so you can Google that and find it. But it's by a guy named Chandler Moore from Maverick City Music. If you're not super familiar with Maverick City Worship, this is a group that you should get to know. And this song, Firm Foundation, plunged its way into my heart. I just was listening to it. I was unexpected, and it just kind of penetrated my heart in a way where it's become a playlist song for me that ministers to me as a worship Jesus. But I love the lyrics. It says, "Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. When everything around me is shaken, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, because he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations, so why would he fail now?" And then the response is, "He won't." And then the second verse, it says, I still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength because I've built my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through every season, so why would he fail now? And again, the response echoes, he won't. And then there's this part in the bridge that says, rain came, wind blew, but my house is built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm going to make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm going to make it through. I'm standing strong on you. This is one of those songs that just reminds us that no matter what comes our way, because life happens, and with Jesus, there's not this up and to the right where when you accept Jesus, you follow Jesus, that everything's just going to be healthy and wealthy and good. It doesn't. The scriptures don't say that. And if you ever are trying to wrestle through that, you can go back to last season on the podcast where we talked about fine print. I think it was the third week. We just talked about the fine print that is in there in Scripture. Scripture says that we're going to have hard times. And this is one of those songs that just will minister to us in the midst of those hard times. We can understand where Jesus is in the midst of that. He's with us. And knowing that keeps our faith grounded and our eyes on him, and it ushers in this peace in the midst of these storms and hard times that we experience. So do yourself a favor, get real acquainted with these two songs. It'll encourage your faith. And I bet along the way, these will be songs that you want to share with someone who is going through a hard time. Also about Sarah and I, we just celebrated 29 years of marriage. We just had our anniversary in June. And we didn't do a whole lot, but it was good to go out and eat and just sit and talk and reflect on all that God's done and all that God's carried us through. I mean, we've had a lot go on in our lives and in our marriage, and I'm just thankful, really, really, really thankful and overwhelmed by God's goodness to us as we walk through some challenges. Our kids got to be a part of, actually I got one that's at church camp right now at Bluegrass at a 7-Eleven camp. It's a great camp. And then my new sixth grader, who's going into sixth grade, went to Mix, our middle school summer camp at Country Lake Christian camp in southern Indiana. I got to sneak up one day to experience Mix for myself and got to pop in and surprise my daughter. She didn't know I was doing it. But when I got there, they were already in this big group session in their auditorium, and so the lights were kind of down. There was, they were playing games, and there was some teaching and intentional programming for all the middle school students there. And I'm just standing in the back, and I got to run into some of our student ministry staff and some amazing volunteers that have sacrificed a week of their world to invest in my daughter and hundreds of other middle school students there. And then worship begins, and someone said, "Hey, why don't you come up and come over by us and worship?" So I went on the side and just was worshiping. And at one point during worship, I look over and the light just kind of stretches out into the crowd, and it's on all the students there. And all of a sudden, I saw my daughter. And when I looked, I saw her, worshiping her heart out, eyes closed, with her hands raised in worship. And I had not seen that before in her. And I was undone and I was overwhelmed. And the reality is, there's nothing better than seeing your kids fall in love with Jesus and experience Jesus and watching them change their lives. And I'm really grateful for our student ministry team. We have a great student ministry team, and if you're grateful for them too, whether you're at a student that just attends programming or they went to Mix with middle school or Beach Week with high school, if you would just let them know, shoot them an email and just simply say, "Hey, thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for the way that you're investing in my kiddo." This summer, I've also gotten to spend some time with a lot of men, either through this Locker Room podcast that have gotten to know me through that, or Fight Club, a men's group that I lead through some connections with people in our church. I've gotten to talk with lots of different men all summer, and some of these stories have been really, really cool. Hearing stories of guys that are growing and leading and making decisions that honor Jesus, or they're getting engaged, or they're dealing with their past, or they're addressing some wounds, or they're taking big, just humongous steps, or getting involved in church or serving in a different place in church. It's been really, really encouraging. And I've also spent some time with guys this summer that have been in some really hard places. Guys that struggle with lots of different things, whether that's marriage stuff or addiction stuff or depression or dealing with a lot of pain or even loss of a loved one or someone they care about, or dealing with a lot of anger. And I'm always so proud of these guys, because a lot of times these guys don't know who I am, and they reach out and want to know if we can meet, or I get connected through another staff member. And it takes a lot of stones to go talk to somebody about what's going on in your life, especially if you don't know them. And I'm just super proud to be able to serve them and try to see how I can connect them and help them. But I also got to talk to a college student at the University of Louisville just about a week ago, who is wrestling with full-time vocational ministry, and he's gone to U of L to do some sort of engineering, and I didn't know him, but he got connected through some people that I know, and it was cool to hear his story and be able to share a little bit about how God's called me into vocational ministry. And here's the reality: we're all called to ministry. We're all called to be kingdom workers. And if you haven't listened or need a refresher, check out last season's podcast. You're Qualified with Connor Hall. It's a 2-part series. It's phenomenal. God only uses broken people. And those of us on staff are not varsity, and then everybody else that volunteers or whatever, or you do whatever is JV. No, we're all partnered with Jesus to make our lives count. But it's a blast to get to talk to guys that are wrestling with a calling to vocational ministry, whether that's to work in the church or to do mission work or parachurch stuff or campus or college stuff or even church planting. And I guess probably what I thought after that conversation is that we should all wrestle with our calling. Are we right where God wants us? And we should ask God for clarity on how we can live on mission and serve the people that God puts around us. Another thing that I got to do just recently was I got to attend a graduation for our residency program here at Southland. We had around 10 students. They're young adults or college students that are interested in full-time vocational ministry, and they've spent about a year with us, and we've gotten to invest in their lives. They've gotten to get to know our church and how we do what we do. We've given them a mentor and also a field supervisor so that they can actually participate in ministry. They can do different things. They're not just, kind of, glorified grunts or interns around here, but they've actually gotten to be involved in ministry in a cool way. And to get to serve with them and lead with them, for them to be able to teach in places or experience ministry at Southland's been a really cool experience for them. And I got to hear them share just how much this residency program has meant to them and how it's built them and encouraged them in their calling to follow God into vocational ministry. And so maybe you're a college student, or maybe you're kind of wrestling with your own calling, and maybe this might be something that you're interested in checking out. Lydia Florence and Becky Brass and John Sampson do a great job of oversight for this area. And I love that we provide these opportunities because we're simply trying to be a great resource to help shape men and women to serve Jesus in his church, not our church necessarily, just the church, to do mission work or expand God's kingdom. And so if you're interested or know someone that might be interested, you can go to southland.church/residency to learn more. Now back to me. I've been working on a number of projects this summer as it relates to some stuff coming up this fall that I've got my hands around. And the first one I'll tell you about is our pre-marriage workshop. Pre-marriage and marriage is something that our leadership has shifted to my plate this year, and so I've been re-engineering this workshop for pre-marriage over the summer. And it used to be a Saturday morning, 4 sessions, 5 hours. And as we've gotten to kind of process and think about and pray about what it is that we really want to try to provide for people, we've expanded it, and we've done a lot of work on it. And so I'm really excited about it. We're going to kick off our first pre-marriage workshop on October 27th and 28th. It's a 2-day event for couples that are getting married, or couples that were just married recently, and maybe you didn't experience some of this stuff along the way as you got ready for marriage. But we're going to tackle a number of sessions around God's plan for marriage, healthy communication, conflict resolution, financial management, sexual intimacy. We're going to talk about that, marriages that last, and a whole host of other things. And it's going to be a really powerful weekend. And so if you're an engaged couple, or you know someone who is, or maybe you know someone that's been married for just a short spell and you're going, man, this is way harder than I thought. If they could benefit from something like this, you can point them towards southland.church/marriage, and they can sign up there. So we'll be working on some marriage stuff, not pre-marriage, but marriage stuff in the future for all 5 campuses, and I'm excited about that, but we'll update you as we go. Another thing that I'm working on is Fight Club. And again, if you're not familiar with Fight Club, it's a group that I started in 2018. It's 15 weeks. It's pretty intense. I do it twice a year. I move from campus to campus because I want our guys to be able to experience it at all 5 of our campuses. And this fall, Fight Club's coming to the Nicholasville campus in Building B on Monday nights from 7 to 9. And I'm partnering with our campus pastor, Greg Chandler, who actually just made an announcement a couple weeks ago in service, and we've already gotten a ton of guys signed up for it. But here's the details if you're interested. We kick off August 21st, Monday nights from 7 to 9 in Building B. It's 15 weeks. There's a couple of Mondays that we won't have Fight Club, and that is September 4th and October 2nd, just in case you're wondering. Like, I don't know, because anyway, we're going to be doing those, but we'll have those two Mondays off, and then we'll wrap up December 11th. And if you're a high school student and up, it's for you. It's for all men, single, married, divorce, Christian, if you're wrestling with faith, you're interested in learning more about what it means to follow Jesus, even if you're not really sure if you believe, but you're interested. Or maybe you're a guy that, you've been doing this for a while and you're going, man, I just want to get better. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better dad. We're going to tackle those things. It's for every man in our church. And really, if you said, hey, what are the 3 purposes for Fight Club? I tell you, we want men to pursue a relationship with Jesus. We want them to know what that looks like. Number 2, we want them to experience a band of brothers and to live in community with other men. What that means when you're actually in a place where you go, man, these dudes are cool and they're for me, and we can share and be honest and open and challenge each other, but also encourage each other and bring a lot of grace and truth into those conversations. We're just better for it. And then the last one is 3, is to empower you to go lead and make an impact on your world, to go do it. I'm not asking you to do anything. We want to pour into you, invest in your life, and help you become the men that God created you to be. And so we're trying to build a culture of warriors in our church. And I'd love for you to jump in with us if you're interested. This would be a great thing for you to come and be a part of. And it doesn't matter what campus you attend. We're one church. And so you're welcome to sign up, whether you go to Danville or Georgetown or Richmond or the Lexington campus. You're welcome at the Nicholasville campus. If you have some friends that you know that would benefit from it, man, invite them. Point them toward this. And here's how you'd sign up. To sign up for Fight Club, you go to southland.church/groups and click Join a Group, and then pick the campus, which is our Nicholasville campus. That's where we're going to be doing this. It's in Building B for this season. And then scroll down to Fight Club and jump in with us. So, and here's the deal. If Monday nights aren't a great option for you, okay, Fight Club's just off the table because you can't, you work, whatever, think and pray about starting a locker room group or joining a locker room group. And it would be very easy for you to do. You just jump on the groups page. If you're interested in joining a group, you just join a group, find a locker room group and join. If you're interested in starting a locker room group, it's really easy. You just go to the website, click, I want to start a group, and then our group staff will reach out to you, answer any questions that you have, and help you post your locker room group on the group's directory. Here's what it looks like to lead a locker room group. It's really simple. Reach out to the group staff at your campus, get it on the website, invite some guys, listen to the podcast. You can listen to the app, or you can watch Locker Room on YouTube. You can just Google that and you'll find it. But we have discussion questions in the show notes on the app on your phone, and then also on YouTube. So they're there. All the questions are there, and so you can filter through those and go, hey, there's more questions than you're going to be able to handle in a meeting, but you'll have plenty of questions to be able to drive some discussion. But that's it. Get together and talk about it, whether you talk about somebody's house, whether it's early in the morning on Saturday or before work or some night, evening that works for you. You just pick it and grab some guys and get after it. It's really easy, super important. We'd love to see locker room groups scattered at all 5 of our campuses. And so be thinking about that as you're thinking through your fall, if Monday nights aren't a good thing for you with Fight Club. Locker Room podcast fall details. Here it is. Locker Room kicks back off on Friday, August 25th. August 25th. Appreciate all the encouragement and appreciation for this past season. It was a lot of fun, a lot of work, learning how to do this, but it's super encouraging to hear from you about how the podcast is helping you and challenging you, even in your locker room groups. You guys have also shared some great ideas to talk about this fall in these 2-word series that we've been in. So be patient. I'll try to get through some of these. I probably won't get through them all, but excited about where we're going. This upcoming season, we're going to continue to dig out 2 words. We're just going to take 2 words every week and then do a deep dive and dig them out and have a really redeeming conversation with men. I've got a lot of different topics, and I've got some really, really cool guests that I'm excited about having on. They're going to challenge us and encourage us and redeem us as we have these conversations with other men and that we get to hang out with and pour into. And so our plan is to tackle 15 weeks this season, and that'll get us to December. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll kick back off in 2024. But I want to say this again. It's been overwhelming at the response from this previous season. I'll pull back the curtain on you again. I'm new at this. Podcast is a unique vehicle of communication. It's different than anything I've done before. I'm used to teaching in person, like getting feedback, seeing your faces, watching you write notes, and locking eyes with you. And then when it's over in real time, just connecting, seeing how I can help and see how what we talked about encouraged or challenged you. This is different. So we recorded on Wednesdays. JR and Zach do all their production stuff. They do their magic, and then they drop it on a Friday. And then it's out there, ready for guys to be able to check out. when it's convenient for them. And so your encouragement is helpful for me to know that we're hitting the bullseye, or we're at least getting close. And so I'm not an insecure person that needs constant affirmation or anything, but it's helpful for me to know that Locker Room is helping you. And so I'm not asking you to email me every week play by play on what was good, what you thought good, or I don't. Please don't do that. Most of us hate email anyway, but it is helpful for me to hear from you when something resonates with you, something speaks, or God's doing something in your life, or you have a cool story to share. I'd love to be able to share some of those stories, maybe at the very beginning of some of these episodes, just on how God's done something or how He's changing you or changing somebody that you're connected with. And so don't hesitate to shoot me an email at Locker Room. And if you're spelling adverse like me, it's LOCKERROOM at southland.church. Or you can just shoot me an email at my email address, shatfield@southland.church. You can use either one that you want. What's been really cool is hearing from guys that are sharing this podcast with people in their lives. And when someone is encouraged or challenged or something makes you think, it's super important to share it with other men. It's been wild to hear some of the stories of how people have clicked on the link or they've received it from other guys. I've heard fathers share these with their high school kids or adult sons or sons-in-laws, men sharing Locker Room with some friends at work, or firemen sharing with other firemen. Between emails from you and people that have reached out to me, it's been around 14 different states, and a couple emails or conversations that I've had with people outside the country. I had one conversation with a guy from Saudi Arabia, and I called him at like 8:30 in the morning. So definite a big time difference. But it was cool to get to connect with him and encourage guys who have questions or just want to know more about what we're doing. So really important. So it's overwhelming to receive these stories and think about the reach of our church. Southland, again, I know you know this, but I'm just going to say it. We're super blessed. It's easy to take this for granted, but God's using our church in some really cool ways all over the place, and we're just going to stay humble, but are really grateful for the leadership and staff and our volunteers and our elders. So super excited about that. Hey, before we wrap up, I wanted to tell you about two other resources that are coming soon, and this is a big one. It's a really big one, and if you're watching, you already see. But we're kicking off a brand new women's podcast, and I happen to bring on one of the hosts for our new women's podcast, Jess McKinney. What's up, dog?
I'm excited.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You've been busy this summer.
A little bit.
Just got back from New York City.
Yes.
Man, that sounded awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
A whirlwind day in the city, but it was fun.
Yeah, very good. Well, listen, we're kicking off this new women's podcast for people. I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to let you say it.
Okay, so the podcast is called Tell Me More.
Tell Me More.
And it's essentially conversations we felt like women should be having, and we wanted to model how they could have them.
Yeah.
So tell me more about whatever it is, and that's kind of how we're going to roll with the name.
And when you said tell me more, that makes you think of what?
Of Grease, which Scott is going to sing for you right now.
I don't know about that. But my wife loves Grease so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
See?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, anyway, yeah. You won't see me on the stage ever.
Oh, come on.
For that stuff. So we're kicking it off, and you're going to have conversations with men that kind of run parallel with women. That's what I meant. That's absolutely what I meant. But we don't change. We don't edit as much as we can. But you're going to have a couple of co-hosts on with you. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about who they are and what they do and what you're excited about.
So Sarah Hopkins is, she oversees volunteers here at church. So she has a huge, all volunteers. Yeah. So she helps all of our ministry areas with onboarding processes, but really just people. She loves people. She's great with people. Yeah. She's in her 40s, so she represents the 40s demographic for us. She is currently single, so she represents that crowd for us. And she is really wise and just has a lot of insight. Yeah. So I think she'll bring a lot to it. We are great friends, which is really nice, so we have good conversation. Yeah. And then Lydia Florence, who everybody's seen preach on the weekend occasionally and does a great job.
She's killer.
I know, she is. She's in her 20s and she's married. Yep. So she represents the young adults kind of demographic, but also, young couples. Yep. So, and then I am in my 30s. Won't tell you where in my 30s, but I'm in my 30s.
It's a decade, man. It's a decade.
It's been a fun one. Yeah. I'm okay with it.
That's awesome.
And I'm married and I have 2 kids.
Yep.
So we're trying to not pigeonhole ourselves a little bit and go, well, this is just for young adults or this is just for married couples. This podcast is for women who are 18 to 80 or beyond, whatever, because they can relate to all the topics that we're tackling. So,
in my mind, I just got protective dad all of a sudden with Sarah when you said she's single, currently single, because I'm like, hey, dudes, don't be.
Oh, that was not an invitation.
Don't be swatting flies at a picnic. Get out of here.
I mean,
listen, the Lord's best. If somebody, but anyway, don't stalk. Please don't stalk. We don't want that to start.
No.
Tell us a little bit about some direction or topical ideas that you guys, you've already kind of shot a couple of them.
Yeah.
Right?
So our pilot episode was just get to know us because we wanted, women or men, if they're listening, just to get to know who we are. So we asked a lot of really dumb questions of each other, which is great. And we laughed a lot and we talked over each other, which is a nightmare for a podcast, but was wonderful nonetheless.
Yeah.
But then starting with episode 2, we started to dive into some topics. And again, these are some of the things women talk about regularly, but maybe don't deep dive on.
Yeah.
And other things I think women think are taboo to talk about, so we just don't talk about those things, especially in the church. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make sure that folks saw what it looks like to have healthy conversations about those things. We're not providing advice. I should say that. We are not experts. So we're not providing advice.
We're not counselors.
Here. No, not at all. Yeah. But, our second episode, we talked about friendship and in adulthood, how it's difficult to make friends and why it's so difficult when you're a kid, it's no big deal and you're friends with everybody. Yeah. So navigating that through the different stages of life, we talk about body image. We had on a guest who was in her 60s and was talking about how she still deals with that and what that looks like. We're going to talk about loss and change and things like that. So stuff that everyone deals with, but having really good, healthy conversations about it and laughing a lot. Truth be told, we laugh a lot.
That's awesome. I think there's such a stigma, and we're a church that we go after those things anyway. But yet still people go, but can we talk about that? And it's like, the Bible's really wide open about these discussions, and we got to have that. I think it really will be really, really helpful. We have a lot of women that listen to this because I
listen to this podcast.
It's even the way you said it differently. Like I'll run into people, and I've said this. They're like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I listen to podcasts and I love it." It's like they're trying to sell me weed. Yeah, it's like, hey, listen, we're good. That's
great.
But it's such a good thing. And so for men that have wives or men that are, I know of guys that they're Christian and their wife's not a Christian. And so this may be one of those great resources where you can offer that. And so again, if it's good and it's helpful and challenging, then we just want to encourage you to think about that. And so for the women that are listening, you're going to have daughters that maybe are in high school that you're going to have to weigh all of that, but sift through those things. But those are great things to prepare them for what's coming. Yes. We'd rather be on the front end than on the back end trying to figure out how to repair something. We want to help. And so, that's awesome, man.
We're also not perfect by any means, obviously. And we're not hiding any of that. Yeah. So these conversations are not the best side of ourselves. It's just, we're just having conversation, and you never know where it's going to go. So, it's a true representation, I think, of what our friendship is, but also of the conversations that people can have.
I love it. It's going to be so awesome.
I'm excited,
and I'm so thankful that you guys are stepping into this. It's going to be great for our church, and it's going to be a great tool for our church to even just share with people that they're trying to reach or people that are kind of wrestling through some things. It'll be awesome, man. I'm super excited. We'll figure out a time to get it. Like I'd love to have all three ladies on, and then I'll figure. I'll come and feel like I've got the spotlight on me. We'll figure it out. But it'll be fun. But
it'll be great.
I'm so glad that you guys are doing it. So it's coming, and the plan is for the first one to drop. Do you kind of have an idea?
Yes, and I'm going to try and remember the date. I think it's September 11th, the Monday after Labor Day.
Okay.
The first episode will drop. Awesome. And we're hoping for, 8 to 10 episodes or whatever we can get out for this season and see what happens.
Okay. And tell them the name again one more time.
Tell Me More.
Tell Me More.
And you can find it on YouTube or any streaming platform for podcasts.
Boy, you sounded so professional. You're already ready, dog.
Ready.
I love it. Jess McKinney, everybody. All right, hey, one more thing I want to let you know is coming. We're kicking off a brand new podcast for parents, and I am super pumped. And here's what it's called. It's our Southland's Parenting Podcast. We not a creative name, but it's an easy one to find. It'll be up at some point. We'll tell you more about it. But this podcast will be hosted by locker room creator teaching pastor and good friend, Scott Nichol. And so don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years. I'm super pumped personally as a parent and for our church as we continue to take steps to get intentional about pre-marriage and marriage and family stuff. And so, when it gets to parenting is like the hardest job on the planet. Nothing harder, nothing more important, and nothing more rewarding. And so Scott's working on the details of what that's going to look like. In fact, we just shot one last week that we're going to drop, I think, right around our kickoff, which is for the fall, which is August 13th. So be looking for that. But he had Jess McKinney on, who you just saw or heard, that's doing Tell Me More podcast, the women's podcast, and then he had me on as well. And so I'll keep in the loop on what's coming, but he'll drop that first one will end up on the locker room, so that way you can get a feel for it and hear about it. Excited about the direction of what he's going to talk about and how he's going to talk about. This is not just about us, behavior modification or here's some 3 steps that you need to do for this. This is about pouring in and investing in the hearts of our parents. As parents, we got to make sure our heart's right in order for us to really give away what we have. And so he's going to be really challenging. It's going to be so fun. And I'm super excited about this. And for parents all over the place, and again, whether you're in our church or outside of our church, this will be a great resource for parents, because who doesn't think parenting is hard? So anyway, so that's it. Really excited about the fall. Don't be a man who stays on an island. If you're stuck or you're just struggling, take a step and get unstuck. Jump into Fight Club at the Nicholasville campus. We start August 21st. Join a locker room group at your campus. Those are going to be populating on the group's directory. If you're interested in jumping in and leading one, man, do that. Reach out and figure that out. Locker room kicks off back on August 25th. If you missed any of last season's podcast, any of those episodes, go check them out. We've covered a lot of ground. I have some great guests coming, and we're going to have some great conversations. So let me button this one up. This podcast has encouraged you. I'd love to hear from you. If you're wrestling with Christianity, would like to become a Christ follower, or would like help in figuring out your next step, shoot us an email, lockroom@southland.church. We'd love to hear from you about how this podcast is encouraging you, and would be honored to help you in any way that we can. And as always, if this podcast has encouraged you, share it with a friend. There's a lot of information that would be helpful to share, whether that's somebody wrestling with residency or vocational ministry or any of these podcast platforms, things that are coming. Get the word out. We'd love for you to do that. So here's the deal, man. Get after it. We're clicking back into a gear. Fall's coming. Let's get after this. With Jesus and community on mission. Lead, be dangerous for good. Make your lives count. Fight for the most important things. We'll catch you next time in a couple weeks on Locker Room.